Hey party people, and welcome to 2022 with my first review, and that is Familiar Tales by Plaid Hat Games. And this is designed by Jerry Hawthorne, and in this world you are going to be familiars, and you're going to be taking this baby on an epic quest over 3 eras. And I've played the entire first era, which is 1/3, of course, 1/3 of the game. It's about 8 hours or so. In this game, it's a 1 to 4 player game. You are going to be doing some deck building, and you're also going to be moving across a book, storybook. If you played Aftermath, Forgotten Waters by the same publisher, that's what you'll be doing. The book is the map, and things that you do will interact with it. You also have, just recently, like Forgotten Waters, an app, a web browser app that you can go in and put in numbers, and when you put in the numbers, you're going to have voice acted. This game is heavily voice acted, and it's also going to have you make some decisions based on that. Very, very, very easy to get in and out of, and I'll show you how some of that works today. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the boards. I'll show you how this game works. I'll also give you my critical opinion of what I think worked and didn't work. Let's get to the boards. Bye! All right, before we get started, I just want you to know this is a high-level overview. It's not going to be full-on rules explanation. All right, so we have our storybook board, and this will be one of the very, very earliest choices in the game. So you get here. Usually you're going to have the kind of the board for this scenario, and then you're also going to have the instructions on this side. It will tell you where to start, where to set up things up. The app will even tell you, hey, do you need help setting up? I'll help you set up. And you'll be doing that kind of stuff as well. Let me slide that back over there. And then you'll see different icons, like the Forge icons. I'm just putting these on here so you can see them a little bit better. You'll have special instructions and rules that you need to pay attention to. And you'll also have story locations where you'll put the number inside of the app. As you can see, the enemies are going to be on these little crawler spots, and all that stuff is determined by the instructions that are on this page. You have your familiars over here, you have your enemies over there. A lot of the things that you see here are pre-set up by the app. They'll tell you exactly what to do and where to do. The rule book is here, but honestly, you can learn this entire game from the app. It's kind of like if you played Zelda, you remember that little fairy that goes, hey, over here. They don't have that, but they do have a walkthrough of everything, the turn, where things go, all that stuff. But this is a market where you can buy better cards. This is a deck builder. You're going to be using power, which is tracked over here along with your health, to buy these bond cards, and those numbers will go in here. You'll mark them off on your journal sheet, which I'm about to talk about in a second. And then if you have the forge, if you forage for certain items along the way, you can use those to buy cards, and those will trigger off of icons from your cards. So we have our Misfortune side deck here, our sideboard. It's going to track Misfortune, which is also put on this journal board that I have over here. And then you have your Discontent, which is basically the baby just going off. It can be very quiet, or it can be very loud and angry, and that could change different things of how this plays out on the board. You can take care of it by having items to give to it, like a blanket to keep it warm, putting it by a fire to keep it warm, giving it food, and all these different things, even a skill check just to keep it down and relax. Misfortune is a thing that plays out over eras, and I'll just kind of cover this right now. These are the eras in the game. This is one full era. This is what I've played thus far, and you're going to have paths that you can choose to go down. After you complete quests, the app will ask you, hey, do you want to go this way or that way? Some spots are linear, but there are places where you can choose. You also have those bond cards, or story crafts that I was talking about, that you're going to be marking off. You'll have keywords based on events that'll happen in the game, and that will actually change how things play out on this board. You may have enemies that end up being friendlies. You may have specific people you talk to by certain scenarios that are going on here, and because you have this thing, they are not happy with you, or they're very happy with you, and you happen to have something that they really appreciate. All that stuff will be on here, and it will interact. You also have a place where you keep track of your misfortune. And like I said, as this baby grows, because there is a baby in here, it will grow, this misfortune may determine how they act. I'm not going to get into that much further, but that is what this stuff is for. Now you have your 4 characters, and even if you're playing with less than 4 players, you're going to need all 4 of these characters. They're going to have their own deck. Once again, deck builder. They start with their own cards, and you can eventually buy better cards. Each one of these each one of these familiars has different abilities. Chalk is the biggest one of the crew. As you can see, this big old, I'm sure it's not an angry, I'm sure it's not an angry familiar. I just made it into one. But they have the ability to carry. You have Blaze, which is good at foraging. You have Gribbet, which is good at swimming. And then Flicker, who is able to fly through some of the lines that will restrict your movement. And they even have thematic things like both these two familiars have to be standing on top of each other to look through a window. Only Flicker can reach this spot. Only Chalk, who has the baby, can do this specific thing. Do a skill check for this. So they'll have all that stuff once you put it through the app. But the turn order in the game, the turn structure, is determined by this app. So it'll even say as you open up the scenario, hey, Flicker goes first, or hey, Blaze goes first. And you'll see that up there. You'll take your turn. A turn is very simple. You're going to have 5 cards in your deck. Each one of these characters would have 5 cards. And then you'll be playing a card from your hand. After you're done playing your cards, you'll just draw back up to 5 cards and discard the rest. That's your turn in a nutshell. So what can you do? You can buy these cards from the row, and these will change according to the era. You'll also have items that you can buy as well. And then you can do a couple different things. You can play a card for its movement, but before you do, you would have to activate these icons, which are on the top left. And I'm just going to give you an explanation of some of these that are on here. So for example, you have this one right here, which is going to allow you to draw a fatigue card, but allow you to draw another card from your deck. This is advantageous for certain times where you may want extra cards for skill checks, but that's going to also be bad for your deck because you'll get danger. This danger icon also shows for modifiers as well. You have cards that have specific icons like this sword right here. This sword will allow you to interact with some of the weapons that you have. This one here, if I'm using it for an attack, this one would give me an extra hit on the attack. And then you have other ones. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find one that's really specific to him. Oh, we have the assist card. The assist card is going to give you an additional card if you're playing solo, but you can play this on off turns to help assist one of your friends who's maybe trying to make a skill check. Oh, here we go. So we have this one here that's a fox. When we play this one as a fox, it can interact with these cards over here. It says I give 1+1 to my skill check. So those are the things that can happen when you play a card. You're going to first activate this icon. Now you can play the card for movement. You can also play this card just for its action and nothing else. Or you can play them in a combination together to make a skill check. All right, and when you make a skill check, you're going to be using these icons in this row right here, playing them together, and then rolling your die and taking that result and adding, subtracting, or doing some other things to it. So let's give you an example. I'm going to play this card to move our fox friend here, Blaze. Blaze will move into here, and since this has a storybook thing, I'll put 110 into the app. We'll listen to a fully laid out thematic, well voice acted story, and then we'll make choices or whatever comes from that. We have a special icon that we interact with. Could be different things. You'll read the book and find that out. But I'm going to forage for this item. It's going to require a skill check of 3. I'm going to continue to play cards and add them to my skill check. I'll play this card here. I'll look at this and see if it interacts with anything. It does not. I will play this assist right here. So it'll give me this one right here. The yellow is used to forward, so I'm paying attention to that. And then I'm going to play this reckless as well. And that's going to give me 1, 2, 4. And then I would roll my die, and then it would say -2, but let's say it says +1. I would have a total of 5. I beat this. I can take this forage. Attacks go the exact same way. So let's say I was in the same square with the same spot with this enemy. I would have 3, 5, 7. I would compare that to their defense. I would roll the die. It would be -1, so I have 3, 5, 7, 6, and that's higher, so now I would just move this to the left. Now I want to be paying attention to all these icons along the way, because if I play these, like for example, this one here, this fox, actually added +1 to my attack. So then I need to be paying attention to those statistics, those stats as I play the cards so that I know what's up. And that is how you do this stuff. You have defense, you have range. So these different icons will mean different things. The defense cards can be played on off turns to react to the enemy. And that's basically it as far as what goes on the board. The thing that you need to know is that this app will determine turn order as you take the turns. It will ask you questions about the enemies, where the discontent is at because the baby's making all this noise and things like that. If it's at a certain spot, it matters. But let's say every turn that this happens, it's going to keep going up. So you got to kind of take care of that baby. And then you will just take out the enemy's turn. It will tell you how to do the entire enemy's turn. That's really it. If you're done with the game, it tells you, hey, do you need help with putting this away? You'll be putting them into boxes. Those boxes will help you organize things. There's a box even for ban cards that you're just getting rid of in between eras and things like that. And then there's boxes for era 2 and 3, which will add different types of cards to your area. So they'll probably be upgraded cards. And that's really it. That gives you, hopefully it gives you an overview of how this game works. It's got a lot of adventure, a lot of different types of areas to deal with, but I think that's enough for you to get an idea. All right, party people, let's get to my final thoughts and give you a review of Familiar Tales. So for the review portion, I'll just say there's not a lot of bad things I'll say. I'll kind of give some warnings and some nitpicks that I think you need to be aware of. So if you're a fan of deck building and you are pretty good at it, as you gain power, your deck's going to get beefed up. And you may find ways to get enough power to the point where you're a little too powerful. So some people may find this game a little too easy and you're just building up power and you may just roll through everything. That's something you got to be prepared for and see if this is kind of your interest. Like I said, this is a lighter affair. You're also going to have situations where this modifier die, unless you have a whole bunch of cards to play on your turn, it may beat you. And it really stinks that it does come down to a modifier roll. I do understand why they made this choice. There's just not a ton of mitigation unless you have more beefed up cards. There's not like something that says, hey, you do have a reroll, by the way. You do have a reroll icon, but even then, sometimes you just get bad rolls. I guess that's not the worst thing, but it is something. Also, the danger mechanic in this game, since you don't have an idea what the turn order is, that could be a bad thing if your enemies have ganged up on you. And that just stinks because you don't know that you're about to get your butt kicked real quick and there's going to be an enemy turn right after that. So that danger mechanic, little iffy on that one. Also, the misfortune, it does a decent job of explaining the weight of misfortune in this game, but not the best. So if your misfortune gets too high because you're getting your opponent, you're getting knocked out, or you're keeping the baby and you don't realize what the baby issue is as far as keeping its discontent down, you may end up with a lot of misfortune, which could lead to some bad results in your campaign. So these are all concerns that I think you need to be aware of, but some of them just were like little nitpicks to me. But I generally had a good time with this game. So let me just get into all the positives. Thematically, this game is absolutely amazing. The app does such a good job of setting this tone that narrates each one of their personalities. You feel the personalities of each character, whether they're grumpy or happy. And then the bonds and storycraft give you more of an idea of who they are. I do love how this app was implemented, and I can use it on my phone. I can use it on this pad. I can use it on my computer, which I've been using it on my laptop. So that you have all these different options to use it for, and it does a really good job hitting in turn, going backwards, continuing. It will save it, like an old video game, it'll save it. This app is so useful, and it doesn't hold anything back. It gives you what you need. That's really important to me. I do like keeping this journal log too. It kind of gets you a little bit more into it, especially if you pass this off to someone else, and like let's say it was a younger kid and they had this duty to write in this little thing. That's a nice little thing to have to kind of keep track of your quests. There's nothing wrong with having a quest log. The art is awesome. They did a really good job of making this still an affordable range by making some miniatures and then also making some standees. Those corner cuts will make a product like this, which is very well detailed and laid out, a little bit less expensive. I truly appreciate something like that. And there's just all kinds of choices that were made to make this game work really well for a wide range of people. If you are a solo gamer and this is a solo only purchase, just know that you have to keep control of all these characters and see if that upkeep is enough for you. Hopefully I laid this out well enough for you to see if this is something that can fit on your table. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. This game is beautiful. It is thematic and it is easy to play. And it's always going to be welcome at my table because it has so much to offer that keeps me in the game. I love narrative games, and when it's told for me so well, that connects with me. That type of stuff connects with me. You've seen the games that I reviewed for this channel, so you know that that's the type of stuff that I like. And if it doesn't work, it grinds me. All right, it just grinds me. I'm not happy. But I'll leave it right there. As you can tell, I'm going to give this game a strong 8. It is definitely one of those games that I do recommend picking up if this is some type of game that you like. But you should just know it is a lighter affair, and that's something you need to take into account. I'd like to thank Plaid Hat Games for sending me a copy of this game, and I'd like to thank you for your time. Hopefully I helped you make an informed decision today. All right, party people, you take care and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on MVM.